Oh my goodness. Now I got Detroit Red Wings background. But this is not about the Red Wings. This is about the greatest tournament in hockey. Aside from the Stanley Cup championships, the World Junior Hockey Championships is what we loved to wait for all year. Boy, I'd really like to get rid of this background. I gotta figure out what I did wrong here. What the heck's an avatar? I don't know what that is. I think I got the wrong background, guys. I have to apologize. Coach Frenchy will be joining me shortly. In the meantime, we have a fantastic preview, and it might get a little out of hand just because there's just so much to preview. It's a little crazy, I gotta be honest. So let's see if we can switch this up a little bit. That's a little bit better. If you can, hit the likes and subscribes. I don't think I like that. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like any of this. Jeez, let's not do any of that. What is going on, man? I guess I'm so used to doing the Red Wings that this is just dialed in as the Red Wings. I have no idea how to fix it. Well, thank you for joining. I know there's lots of hockey going on tonight in the NHL, but the real tournament that we're worried about, send Slat to the World Juniors. No, why would he do that? He's doing fine. Don't you think? I think he's doing better than I thought. Please take out the Red Wing stuff. I cannot get rid of it. Let's see. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Oh, that's what it is. It's the virtual background. There we go. I got rid of it, guys. Look at that. It's like I'm practically a producer, and I'm just gonna get rid of this because I think we don't need this either. All right, so Hockey Nation fans, it's almost that time of year. The day after Christmas is the one that's the most giving because that is when the World Junior Hockey Championships begin. Now, this year's a little bit weird. This is a little strange this year because you'll see me tomorrow morning. I don't know. Because I don't know if you know, but there's crazy weather in North America, and as a result, they already have postponed the NHL Detroit Red Wings Ottawa game. So they already know they're not playing that game. The storm's coming in. They're just not going to get out there. So I'm not sure if I'll bother even go on. I went on this morning, which is crazy. So if you want to see my preview of the game that's not even going to happen and a review of the game that just happened, which was a great game, 7-4 win for the Red Wings, then you can check that out on Hockey Nation Live. Check under the live streams. You'll probably find it there. So in the meantime, I think Coach Frenchy is supposed to be joining me at some point. Unless we got our calendars wrong, mixed up. We're going to do this tonight, which is the World Junior Hockey Championship preview. What the heck is this? So this is the U20. Let's put some skin in the game. You're going to bet on this. The U20 World Junior Hockey Championship. This is the premier tournament for players that are aged really 16 to 20. But for the most part, these are 19-year-olds. That's typically the age. We know we got some guys that are coming up in the NHL draft. Two guys in particular, Connor Bedard and Adam Fantilli, both playing for Team Canada. We also know that Team Canada had some late last-minute additions from 3 NHL teams, so we're going to see that. We're going to take a look at the teams mainly that we think have a chance to maybe win it. But let's just start off here, and we're going to take a quick look. This is how things break down. And there's just one sad. Oh, Coachy thought it was tomorrow. Coach thought it was tomorrow. Well, we can do it tomorrow as well. Let's just go through, and I'll give a little bit of a preview, and then I don't know if what I do here. I think I'll go through it quickly, but I do want to talk to Coach about this because there's a lot to cover. I'm just going to say there's a lot to cover. Let's do tomorrow also. And I'm just going to do a brief overview. Yeah, that's what happens when you live in Thailand. It's just the time zones are just different. You're living in the future. All right, so who here is excited about the World Hockey Junior Championships? I am. So let's talk about one thing that's really the big elephant in the room. Because of geopolitics, Russia has been, quote unquote, expelled from the tournament. Like in every other major sporting thing around the world, Austria. I don't want to talk about Austria. I don't know if there's any. We can look at Austria. I have to find that roster. It's weird. Oh, actually, so I found the best source appears to be, after looking a lot, Elite Hockey. or elite prospects, sorry. So this is how it breaks down. With no Russia in the tournament, one of these divisions is quite not like the other. Yes, Jeff. Let's talk about Austria. No offense, Austria, but there's some good hockey players in Austria. They played pretty well last time, and you got that young Marco Rossi, and you've got Marco Kasper. Is he not Austrian? So maybe it is worth looking at Austria. Or is he German? I can't remember. Is Marco Kasper, the Detroit Red Wings draft pick? He's Austrian. So, well, I don't know if they even lent him, but I wonder if, let's take a look. But I think that's a good point, is Austria roster World Junior Hockey, because I think that might be important. So let's take a look here. And one of them is Marco Kasper. Okay, we definitely need to take a look at that. You are correct. I know it's a bit of a joke. Good morning or good evening, MSU. You say go USA. I was looking for France. Well, no, they did not make it the top 10. That is correct. So this is how it breaks down. Group A is Czechia, formerly known as the Czech Republic, formerly known as Czechoslovakia, Germany, Sweden, Canada, and Austria. This is a much tougher group, in my opinion, than the other group, which has Slovakia. There's some good players in Slovakia. Switzerland has some good players. They have a very good program. They can all skate. The question is whether they have any offense and how good the defense will be. But they can all play. Like, there's a decent skill level in Switzerland. If you watch a Swiss game, they are tight defensively, always, and they can all skate. They can all play. Finland is they always figure out a way to get a medal. And they get better and better. And we've talked about it. We've got some Finnish friends. And basically, yeah, Czechia is the former Czech Republic, which is the former Czechoslovakia. Yeah, well, Marco Kasper is a pretty top player. Marco Kasper is in Rögle in Sweden playing professional hockey. And I'm telling you, man, the Detroit Red Wings once again got the steal of this past NHL draft. This guy is a big man with lots of skill. And he looked great at last year's World Juniors. I mean, Central Europe is definitely starting to produce a lot of future NHL talent. Agreed. Now, the other thing about Switzerland is I think there are 10 players on Switzerland that are from the Canadian Hockey League. Mainly, I think, we'll take a look at that. Finland's always very good. USA has got to be the favorite in Group B. They are pretty talented, including Logan Cooley, the 3rd overall draft pick to the Arizona Coyotes. So we'll take a look at that. And, we might as well dive right in. So Canada, Sweden, Czechia, Germany. Germany probably has some players, but I just don't think they're going to contend. And maybe we get some surprises, right? And Austria. This is going to be a much tougher division. Sweden always does very well in the round robin. Let's just start here with the Canada roster. I was not joking when I said, is this the best Canadian roster of all time? Maybe not, because there's the year where you had like the Stalls and Corey Perry, and you had Ryan Getzlav, and you had Sidney Crosby and Patrice Bergeron. That's a pretty legendary team. However, this team is stacked. Okay, first of all, we look at net, and traditionally, I think the goaltending in Canada, I like to look into an unbeaten road. That is, I drive a Saab. Okay, Vinny, thank you for joining. I appreciate you jumping on. We're going to give a very quick World Juniors preview because Coach and I got our wires crossed, and Coach wants to do it tomorrow night. So we will have a more in-depth conversation with Coach and I on the World Junior roster. But I just want to point out the favorite teams here, and then tomorrow night we can get into it a little bit more. So Canada has to be considered the defending champions. So if you don't know, I work with the Everett Silvertips. I'm the U.S. scout for the Everett Silvertips, which is in the Western Hockey League, which is part of the Canadian Hockey League. Our coach and general manager, Dennis Williams, has been a part of the Hockey Canada program for a while, and he is the head coach this year. So Dennis Williams and Olin Zellweger, our number one defenseman. Olin returns. He was the top defenseman on Team Canada last year. Team Canada was really weird last year. They had all the defensemen had left shots. So that was really strange. Well, this year they definitely have one right shot, which is Brant Clark. So they had late addition. So, you get, just to stop for a sec, you have Olin Zellweger and Kevin Korchinski, which are both top 10 NHL picks in the past draft. And you got a bunch of other guys, Nolan Allen, Ethan Del Mastro, both Chicago Blackhawks, Tyson Hines, Anaheim Ducks draft pick. Brant Clark plays for the LA Kings. He played 7 games so far this year and had 2 points, I think 2 assists. This other name I am not familiar with, which is interesting, but he was drafted, which is Jack Mattier. So we should probably look into that. But if you look at just the top guys, Brant Clark, Olin Zellweger, Kevin Korchinski, Ethan Del Mastro, that's a crazy defense, guys. Well, Dallas is a damn good team, so that's going to be a good game, Jeff. I remember during the COVID World Juniors, everyone was hyping Canada, and they went on to get punched up by USA. Well, were they hyping Canada? Canada's always good. I did not think Canada was looking good in that tournament. I was kind of surprised they went, and they were up, I think, in that one game, weren't they? I mean, you kind of cheer for them. Now, here's the other problem. If you haven't been following this massive scandal with Hockey Canada yet again, and they've cleaned house, and they have a transitional board of directors of 9 people that includes Haley Wickenheiser and a bunch of other people that are mostly lawyers or, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of lawyers on it. There's 9 people. This relates back to the World Juniors a number of years ago where there were incidents that came out about, impropriety, but basically they're just messing around with girls in a not good way. I mean, I don't understand. Like, you go to the World Junior Championship, this is the Mecca. You should be there for that, not partying, but that's obviously not what happened. And as a result, a lot of people are cleaning house, and Hockey Canada is a bit of a disarray. No, there's just enough Western. There's a lot of good Western leaguers, including Connor Bedard. So if you look at net, Benjamin Gaudreau from Sarnia, Ontario. I grew up in Sarnia, Ontario before Mississauga, by the way. My family was all there. There's a border town across from Port Huron, Michigan. So if you are a Detroit fan or you're MSU fan, you probably know Sarnia, Ontario, because there's Windsor on one side of the Detroit border, and you go over to Port Huron, Michigan, and there's Sarnia on the Canadian side. So the Sarnia Sting, Benjamin Gaudreau, very good goaltender, drafted by the San Jose Sharks. The other goalie who I'm a little more familiar with is Thomas Milic. And if you saw him in the games that were this week, Thomas Milic is a killer. Right now, Seattle, Billy, and mark my words, Bill LaForge is. I can't see how he's not part of Team Canada at some point. Like Bill LaForge, the former director of player personnel for the Everett Silvertips, the son of the wild and well-known coach Bill LaForge, also senior, general manager for the Seattle Thunderbirds and the WHL, are crosstown rivals of the Everett Silvertips. They are ranked first in the CHL, and Thomas Milic is a big reason why. They went to the finals last year, which might have surprised a lot of people, but they're a very, very, very good team. So to that end, yeah, you watched Not Rooted. Okay. To that end, the goaltending I think is pretty good here. And I think Thomas Milic is a very underrated goalie, and he's draft eligible. So he's eligible for the upcoming draft. And then the defense is absolutely insanely good. Now, let's look at the forwards. Connor Bedard. You have a draft pick in Caden Bankier, plays for Kamloops, WHLer for the Minnesota Wild, draft pick. But the real big names here, Connor Bedard and Adam Fantilli, expected to maybe go 1 and 2 in the NHL draft. Now, because Russia is not in, Matvei Michkov would normally go 1 or 2, I think. Now, but Adam Fantilli at Michigan in the NCAA, so MSU, you know him. Yeah, the Saginaw Spirit, which my cousin owns part of, and Chris Osgood owns part of, the Saginaw Spirit. Wait, is that right? Is that who the Spirit is? Hey, am I mistaken? I can't remember. Jeez, I have not paid attention to the OHL, and it's been a long time. That's bad. But, all right, so the 2 big names there, Adam Fantilli and Connor Bedard. The Saginaw Spirit are in the Ontario Hockey League. So the Canadian Hockey League is 3 leagues. It's the Western Hockey League, which I work out of with the Everett Silvertips, the Seattle Thunderbirds, the Portland Winterhawks are in there. Those are U.S. teams. Tacoma and Spokane, that's a U.S. division. And then you've got teams in Alberta, you've got teams in British Columbia, and teams in Saskatchewan, Manitoba. Yeah. It sounds weird coming off my tongue, Saginaw Spirit. So I never think of them as the Spirit. It's just Saginaw. Is that weird? And then you get the Quebec League. So the Quebec League, the Ontario League, and the Western League make up the Canadian Hockey League. It's the premier, the best place to play 16 to 20 years old, the greatest league probably in the world. There's nothing like it, guys. The depth of talent, the number of people that get drafted out of there, it's the best hockey there is outside the NHL, I would say, and maybe the AHL and pros, but better than NCAA, much younger than NCAA, much younger than USHL. You got provincial junior, you got USHL. Those are old leagues. These guys are young and they're the best, and then they go pro, and that's what this is. All right, so those are the big names: Adam Fantilli, and Connor Bedard, probably going 1 and 2. Nathan Gauthier for Anaheim Ducks draft pick. This is a huge, huge, huge addition. Dylan Guenther from the Arizona Coyotes was playing in the NHL, and he was doing good. I think he had like 10 points or 11 points in 20 games. Like, Dylan Guenther is going to be a 30-goal scorer in the NHL at some point very soon. Zach Ospakuk from Vancouver for Ottawa Senators draft pick. This guy's tough, and he's got some good offense. Brendan Othman from the Peterborough Petes, New York Rangers draft pick. Very, very underrated, very skilled forward. Returns to the team. Joshua Roy from the Quebec Major Junior League. Not a lot of Quebecers, so that's kind of interesting. Is he the only Quebec player on this roster? That's really unusual. Oh, no. Tyson Hines from Sherbrooke also, so that's really interesting. 2 Sherbrooke players. Interesting. Well, Joshua Roy is a very good player. He's a Montreal Canadiens draft pick, so if you guys like him, yep, there you go. They used to be the North Bay Centennials in the 80s and 90s. Who was? That franchise moves around. I can't even. So I think the Brampton Battalion are now the North Bay Battalion. Hi, RJ. Thank you for joining. Zach Dean. Zach Dean's a good player from Gatineau. You're right. He is from Quebec League. Sorry. Thank you for that. Golden Knights draft pick. Logan Stankoven, Kamloops, Dallas Stars. He was, I think he was a Canadian Hockey League Player of the Year last year, wasn't he? He's a little guy, but he's really, really talented, really, really smart. On any team, you would be happy to have him. Reed Schaefer's a very good player from Seattle Thunderbirds. Top player. So you got a lot of, and then on top of it, you get thrown in the mix. Dylan Guenther, Brant Clark, and Shane Wright get sent back from their NHL teams. They weren't playing Shane Wright. What was really weird to me, guys, was Shane Wright being named captain. So let's just say, and Gauthier, you're right. Sorry, I overlooked some guys. Thank you for clarifying. So we got Dean, Gauthier, Roy, and Hines all Quebec. So that's good. All right, so there's some Quebec guys. There's usually got to be a certain amount of representation. There's a little bit of politics there. Long of the short of it, this team is frigging stacked. All right, so who are they going up against? The Czechia roster is no slouch. And a couple names I will bring to your attention. Eduardo Saleh has moved into discussion as the top 3 or 4 picks in the NHL draft. So if you look down the bottom here, you'll see Edward Saleh, I think is how you pronounce it. Plays for HC Cometa Brno. He is NHL draft eligible. That is a player to watch. If you go back to the top in net, the Cape Breton goalie, Satney, I think his name is, someone to watch. And then you're going to see a bunch of guys that do play in the Canadian Hockey League. So you see a Tri-City American, a Portland Winterhawk, and Merrick Alshuer is drafted. And then Kitchener Rangers, Thomas Hamara, another good player. David Jiricek, he's playing in the AHL, and they did release him. So there's 2 players here that, 3 on defense that you really got to pay attention, I think. 4. Hamara, Jiricek, Spacek, and Svozil. Okay, Svozil is having a killer year with the Regina Pats. He's showing way more offense than we would have ever guessed. Hamara is drafted by the Ottawa Senators, plays for the Kitchener Rangers, who had a 0-5 start to the season, and now suddenly they've been beating teams really crazily, and they're loading up on players. They think they're a top team. I'm not sure that's the case, but they're loading up, and they think they're going to make a run. So the defense, I think, in Czechia is very good. You've got an NCAA player that's drafted. Let me think of what his name is. Yeah, Yaroslav Chemla from Providence College. Okay player. Marcel, that's it. The best name, Marcel. It's so confusing. They keep moving French. Or that North Bay team around. Too many from the Western League. What? It's not politics. It's just the better players right now. It goes by buckets. What, you think Dennis Williams is like? He's not. He doesn't pick the team by himself. Everybody has a say. And some draft years, I mean, the WHL right now is stacked. You got Connor Bedard. You got Zach Benson. You got Logan Stamkos. You got a whole bunch of other guys. Olin Zellweger. He's going to be on the Anaheim Ducks, if not next year, then the year after. So those are some of the names to watch out for. Marcel draft, or is not drafted, but he's with the Gatineau Olympique. Adam Mitchell, also in the WHL. So there's some players there, but the big name I would say is watch Edward Saleh and let's see what he does. This is typically a very tough tournament for a 17 or an 18-year-old, by the way. This is hard. Whew. Toronto barely beat Philadelphia. That's interesting. Boston beats Winnipeg. Yeah, I was watching that Rangers Islander game. That's what I was watching before. And then a little bit of that Carolina Pittsburgh game. Carolina is such a good team, man. They're going to be so hard to play against in the playoffs, especially if Pacioretty comes back. This is crazy. San Jose leading Minnesota. What's going on? And then 1-1 LA Calgary. Seattle and Vancouver. Ooh, Seattle up 4-2. So they're back in the W column. And then 3-2 overtime win for Washington. That's really interesting. All right. So that's good. But let's take a look. The Swedish team is stacked as well. They got the USHL goalie. I'm not too familiar with Brannaman. Ian Blomqvist, not too familiar with him. And then Carl Lindblom. But they usually always have very, very good goaltending. On defense, Hugo Johansson's real good. Elias Peterson's real good. Callie Odalis is drafted, I think. Yeah, he's drafted by the Islanders. So they have a good defense, but the forwards are really interesting. Philip Bysted, you got to love Philip Bysted. That's a good pick. Leo Carlson is in the discussion. Big, powerful, skilled player, protects the puck really well. Probably top 3 or 4. So he's in the mix with Fantilli. He's in the mix with Edward Saleh. He's in the mix with Connor Bedard. Normally, Michkov jumps up in there, but I think because of the issue of geopolitics, Michkov's probably going to drop quite a bit. Maybe not that much. You never know. So those are all real good players. Jonathan Lekkerimäki is Vancouver draft pick. I didn't think he did very well last tournament. I did not like him in the last tournament. He was relegated to the third line. He has a reputation as a big goal scorer, a big shooter. I did not think he was a great skater. You can't score if you can't get to the puck at the win battles. So I was a little disappointed in him. Look for more from him this tournament. Fabian Lysell is very, very underrated. Playing in the AHL. This guy's going to be in the NHL before you know it. Liam Ogren, another really skilled player. Noah Oslin, real skilled. I don't know Milton Oscarsson. And Oscar Peterson, if you know, he's playing pro, drafted by Ottawa. And then St. Louis Simon Robertson, they sent him back. And Isaac Rosen is a real good player playing in the AHL. Victor Stenberg's real good, Chicago draft pick. So there's a lot of talent in Sweden. And one thing to note is, they've been very stubborn about the coaching there. That's what I said, MSU. However, they think that they are. They're barely a 500 team. But I think they say you take away the first 0-5 start to the season, and they've recently made some aggressive trades to upgrade. It's really weird. I agree with Zeph. Yeah, there's a lot of Quebec politics. Okay, well, maybe. It's between Saginaw, London, and Windsor for the OHL. I think you're right. Tragedy in London, by the way, with the play. I don't know what the details are. The Russian player falling from an apartment building last week. I don't know if you guys saw that. 3 days, guys. Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. Well, there's some players there. Canada will score lots of goals. Canada's stacked at every position. But so if you go through this roster, you're like, woo, Sweden's no slouch, man. And Fabian Lysell, I think he'll lead that team. And then we're gonna get to see how good is Carlson. Like Leo Carlson turned a lot of heads playing pro. Okay, Group B, this is a little weaker without Russia. If you threw Russia in this mix, this could be a real tough division. You'd probably knock out a Latvia and you'd put in Russia, but that's not the case. So the United States and Finland should be head and shoulders above everybody else in this group. The U.S., Andrew Oak, that's interesting. Andrew Oak is 2023 draft eligible, but he's an overage goalie with Saginaw, and he was in the Detroit Red Wings rookie camp. I believe that is true. So I thought he was actually signed or drafted by the Red Wings, but I guess they didn't do that. I thought he was pretty good. Sean Barron's real good. I think his dad might have played for Team USA. Mark Barron? That sound right? That was a long time ago, the 80s. Seamus Casey from Michigan. Small, highly skilled mobile defenseman in the New Jersey Devils. Pretty good player. Ryan Chesley's a good player. Captain of this team is Luke Hughes. We mentioned that they named. What do you think of Shane Wright as the captain of Team Canada? I was a little surprised there, to be honest with you. Not surprised Luke Hughes is the captain of the USA. Jack Pert, another good defenseman with St. Cloud State. I do not know Ryan Ufko, but he is drafted by the Nashville Predators, and they have a history. Yeah, well, it's all right. This is the tournament, Luke. It is. It is the greatest tournament. I love this time of year. Yeah, Oak was in the Wings Traverse City Prospects camp. That's what I thought. And I thought he played pretty well. All right, so if you look at the forwards on this team, Tyler Boucher is notable. Ottawa Senators picked this guy so high. Coach hates where they picked him. I'm not sure I like it either. He's not really got the offense you'd want for how high they picked him. He's a big, tough guy. So he might turn out to be a Tom Wilson type player, and I think that's what they're counting on. Logan Cooley, the star of this team. Logan Cooley will be a star in the NHL. Logan Cooley is Trevor Zegras, but a much better skater. Saying that's pretty good, right? Arizona's got a real good player. You got Dylan Duke, Cutter Gauthier, the Philadelphia Flyers draft pick, big, talented power forward at Boston College. You got to look for him. He's really good. I like Chaz Lucius. He's playing in the AHL. I got to check on how he's doing. And Rutger McGorgy is really good. Red Savage, a Detroit Red Wings draft pick. His dad was Brian Savage, played for the Montreal Canadiens, if you recall. Jimmy Snuggerud, is it his dad or his uncle was Dave Snuggerud, played for the Buffalo Sabres in the NHL. I think maybe also, definitely for Buffalo, though. Minnesota boy, St. Louis Blues draft pick. And now Charlie Stramel is interesting. This guy, for a while, they were talking like, ooh, this guy is as good as anybody's. But I don't know. We should see where he sits in the career. I haven't heard a lot. I love Cutter Gauthier. That's going to be the steal of that draft. Philadelphia absolutely has a star, not a star, but at least a top 6 player that should be really good there. Okie is playing for the Spirit. Yep, I agree. I think that was the connection, the Jimmy Devellano, Chris Osgood connection to get him to Traverse City with Detroit. All right, so USA, no slouch. Lots of names on that team. Excited to see them play, but they're going to have – this is my fear. When you have too easy of a round robin, you don't know what the real level of play is, and it's such a short tournament. They could come out of here, and then they'll face a group that just went through this other division. It's going to be a tough division, this one. We talked about Austria, and we're not going to look specifically at the roster, but Marco Kasper is the big name there. The Detroit Red Wings stole him, I think. All right, so then, if you look at this is the Swiss team. What's notable on this? There are 10 CHL players on this team. The Swiss can all skate. They play a really stingy, tight-checking style of hockey, and they all have good skill level, but maybe not overwhelming. So I do think that they're going to struggle in this division. They might be tough to play against. There might be some close games, And they can shock people because of that, because it can be frustrating to play against them, because they play kind of a trapping style, and they take away a lot of time and space. Lane Houston. Well, that's interesting, because we didn't mention him. And he's a defenseman from Boston University, Montreal Canadiens draft pick. I like him. He's skilled. I don't know if he's I don't know. I'm trying to project. Is he a second pairing defenseman in the NHL, or is he a bust? He's going to play, I think. I think he just has too good a skill set. He's not a big guy, though. He's 5'8". Is he 5'8" or 5'10"? I don't think he's very big, guys. I think that'll work against him. So he's got to have a high skill set. So we'll see. He is very skilled. So is everybody in the NHL. All right, so then Team Finland. This team's going to be very, very good. Joakim Kemell, watch out for him. Does Brad Lambert have a good tournament? That's a big question. Topi Roni for the Flames. That's a good pickup. So that's a good addition. Yanni Neiman for the Seattle Kraken. So you got some big names there for sure. The big ones to me being Lambert and Kemell. On the forward line, Konsta Kapanen's undrafted. That's interesting. I wonder if he's related. Oh, here's a name for you. Nico Huitin, 7th round draft pick. I think he was the very, very, very last round in the NHL draft. Was he the last pick? He might be the last pick. Everett Silvertip. He's playing pro, though, in the AHL. And he's a big, big guy. He can really shoot the puck. Not an amazing skater. Yeah, there you go. Lane Houston, not that big. Alexi Himasala, which is the Hurricanes guy, good defenseman. So that's someone. Ville Ruotsalainen, that's really interesting. I wonder if Ville Ruotsalainen's related to the legendary Rachel Ruotsalainen. I would like to know. I think I will look that up. Topias Villain drafted in the 5th round with the Devils. So you got some, they're going to be tough to play against. The Finns always are. You would think that the Finns will always have good goaltending. Although last term they did not have great goaltending, and they overcame that. So that was kind of interesting. And they're very tough to play against. They're in your face. They're stingy. They're gritty. They go to the net. They do all the things. They got very, very good power play. So you got to think the U.S. and Finland are favored in that group. All right, so we will talk more about this. I'm going to wrap this up probably because I don't want to steal all of our thunder for tomorrow night. Who are you looking forward to seeing? I do want to see how Marco Kasper does for Austria. I think Group B is a lot weaker than Group A. And I don't think that's necessarily, you would think the teams on the Group A will get beat up. And well, see, this is the interesting thing with Finland and Brad Lambert. Drafted a lot later than he was originally projected. And if you watched him in the NHL preseason, I was like, wow, that's a different Brad Lambert. Somebody talked to this guy because he was going to hard areas. And I think that's the thing with him. He's a very, very perimeter player. Thanks, Zeph. We'll see you later. And I don't know. Let's see how he's doing, because I think he's playing in the AHL for the Manitoba Moose, right? And he's only got – this is the problem with the guy. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, -9 in 14 games in the AHL. And it's not like you expect him to tear it up, but he's already played pro, and he couldn't really score in pro. He's just such a perimeter player. What you saw in the preseason was, wow, this guy's super skilled. I don't know. I just don't know if he's going to play in the AHL, though. All right, so this kicks off Boxing Day. Finland versus Switzerland. Sweden versus Austria on the 26th. Latvia, USA, Czech, and Canada. That's going to be a very tough game. And then day 2, Finland versus Slovakia, Germany versus Sweden. Don't discount the Germans, and I don't mean to do that, because they are a very, very good team now, and they do have a lot of talent. So they're going to be a tough team. That's why I think that A group is just so much tougher than the B group. Dogs agree with you. Is it dogs agree with you about Brad Lambert having to show up? I'm not sure. So that is a very, very quick preview. I do want to come on. Let's just take a quick look at this. So this is kind of like the projection. Wow, they got Will Smith really bumped up there. This is really interesting. So, originally had Charlie Strammel's now ranked around 20th. And he's a big University of Wisconsin guy. They're like, oh, he's as good as anybody. But he's dropped quite a bit. So I find that interesting. I mean, you're going to see Connor Bedard. You're going to see Adam Vitsley play together. Leo Carlson on Sweden. That's a big story. Will Smith, was he even on the U.S. roster? Did we see this guy on the U.S. roster? Am I blind? I don't see him, so we're not going to see him. He's probably a little young for this roster, but still, for him to be rated that high in a pretty talented draft, Matvei Michkov normally would be top 2, maybe number 1. This guy's a superstar. If you like Kirill Kaprizov, why do you not love Matvei Michkov? The guy can. It's a Russia. It's the rebirth of Pavel Bure, guys. That is Matvei Michkov. Brandon Yeager from the Moose Jaw Warriors, very, very good player. Very just underrated, but super smart, high IQ. Just does everything above average. Edward Saleh. Okay, so I've seen him as high as 3rd and 4th. So we'll see how that works out. And Zach Benson, don't discount Zach Benson out of Winnipeg. Winnipeg is an absolute monster too. And Zach Benson he's very, very, very good player. Would not be surprised to see him go higher. But we're not going to see him in this tournament. I don't think he's on Team Canada. They don't have Zach Benson on Team Canada, right? Am I missing something? I don't see any Zach Benson. No, you got Colton Dock, Kirby Dock's brother, and he's playing real well for Kelowna. Interesting. We know Owen Beck got cut. That's how good that Canadian team. Because I thought Owen Beck was like maybe one of the steals of the draft for the Montreal Canadiens. I like him as much as you guys do. So there are some really notable players you'll see in this tournament. One of them not being there is Matvei Michkov, which is really unfortunate. I have to watch KHL games. I wonder if we can get KHL broadcasts or not still. I'm Ethan Gauthier. Interesting for Sherbrooke. Is he that good? Maybe. All right, kids. Let's tune in tomorrow night. I'll check in with Coach Frenchy. 11:15 Eastern, 8:15 Pacific. We will have a conversation about these teams and get his take on them. Thank you for joining tonight in this rather hasty and quick preview of the World Junior Hockey Championships. I'm super excited to be here with you during the World Junior Hockey Championships. I'm super excited for the Everett Silvertips that are in the tournament. Olin Zellweger and Nico Huayton, who's now in the AHL, and our coach, Dennis Williams. I mean, and, I guess you're going to be the only time I'm ever going to be cheering for 2 guys from Seattle because they're on Team Canada. But even that, with all the controversy, Team Canada, they have a stacked roster. So it's going to be interesting to see. They're defending back-to-back, and I sure hope they win, just for a lot of reasons I mentioned. All right, guys, have a wonderful night. Check back in tomorrow evening. I'm not going to do a morning update because the Detroit-Ottawa game was canceled tomorrow night already. So there's no preview of that game now. I don't know when they're rescheduling it. All right, everybody, have a wonderful evening, and we will see you tomorrow.